Hello, and welcome to My Left Ear. I'm Carrie Freeman, and my co-host Petey should be here any minute, I think. This is a liberal YouTube channel. I always like people to know that. And it's called My Left Ear because I get information and intuition and psychic hits through my left ear. This is video 257, March 21st. So we're going to start with a couple of just notes. Mercury, the planet of communication, went retrograde on the 14th, I understand, and it's going to stay that way through March 31st. A few days before and a few days after, they consider that a shadow period. But what I notice most about Mercury retrograde are issues of communication get messed up, and flights are canceled and mistakes are made. And I was supposed to have someone pick up my vacuum cleaner this morning, and she had all kinds of problems and didn't understand why she couldn't make it, but she couldn't make it. And I didn't bring up Mercury because her company is fixing my vacuum cleaner, and we had a talk about a week ago, and I don't know her at all, but she's a MAGA, a nice, polite lady. So I didn't get into it with her. But at any rate, if I had told her Mercury was retrograde, this would a MAGA would not relate to that. I'm pretty sure of that. So I had an experience, which was 3 or 4 days ago. I always tell you this, I have a lot of stuff that happens in my kitchen. I don't know whether it's the water, but I get hits in the kitchen. So I'm walking into the kitchen. Where's Petey? Petey, where are you? He's lying on the floor. And my left ear says, you're going to hear from someone from your distant past. And I went, well, that makes sense. Mercury's retrograde. And within 20 minutes, I opened my computer and there was an email from a woman I'd been really good friends with out of college. I don't think I've talked to her in maybe 20 years. Seriously, I had not talked to this woman in 20 years. We were both theater majors in college, and there's a whole backstory there I do not need to go into, but she was calling me to see if I'm still doing the hypnosis stuff and could I help her daughter who has insomnia. So I'm going to see her for the first time in 20 years, and that is Mercury retrograde. I wanted to make a recommendation. I'm like a movie critic right now, but I watched the film The Apprentice at home, and I had avoided it because I thought, this is going to be corny. This is going to be worse than the worst Hallmark movie I've ever watched. But I'd heard so many good things about it. I thought, well, why don't you just sit on your sofa and, eat some popcorn and watch the movie? See what you think. It's a really good movie, by the way. I was wrong. It's done really well. It's written. It's really a good script, really an intelligent script. And there's an arc to it. I mean, there's a development to it where you see, a fairly young Donald Trump kind of wanting to be big shot and not a big shot, and his trajectory into becoming the Donald Trump that we now know. And Sebastian Stan, actor Sebastian Stan, plays Donald Trump, and an actor named Jeremy Strong, who I was not that familiar with. And I think he's on one of these Netflix series that's wildly successful. I don't know whether it's, you might know, someone may write me, but it might be Succession. I don't know. Anyway, he's brilliant as Roy Cohn. I mean, I can't imagine anybody else playing Roy Cohn as brilliantly as Jeremy Strong. And the evolution of their relationship and how Cohn just kind of made Trump into his own image. This is where Trump learned, deny, attack, never give in, that whole thing. You really see what developed this maniac called Donald Trump, who is now known as the felon. And you know what? I was going to do a video yesterday, and yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of my horrific accident where I fell on Hollywood Boulevard. And I don't know, I just used the day for reflection, to be honest with you. It was like a big landmark, like, okay, here I am 1 year later, and I'm functioning, and I'm driving, and I have some scars, and I have some stiffness, and I still have hardware in there. Like, I don't know, maybe one day I'll post the x-ray. It's really something to see, these big things coming out of my shoulder. Anyway, I'm grateful to be well, and because there were many days where I thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, and I did. So it was a lesson. Now, most importantly, listen carefully. I have to make a correction. I made error last video, and a couple of the subscribers let me know, and it was pretty big error. I was thinking about it, and I wrote them back and said, I'm gonna fix this on my next video. I'll make an announcement, and they seem to be happy about that. I was thinking, how did I make such a, but you know what? I was in a hurry to get a video out, and I'll tell you something personal, that over this year, when I've had so much time to reflect and heal, I am pretty sure I have never been diagnosed for ADHD, but I think I have it. And now it comes in a lot of different forms. I think they've even put it into 4 categories, and I don't know which category, but I'm aware of it now. I've done a lot of studying, and it might have been that, that I just was all over the place, anxious to get it out, and I didn't pay attention to my detail. So I apologize for that. I don't like that. And especially since we're talking about victims, I was talking about victims, so here it goes. Here's the correction. The persons deported by Trump and Trump's cabinet to El Salvador were Venezuelan citizens. And I had that wrong. They were Venezuelan citizens. They got rounded up and deported. And to El Salvador. They're Venezuelan. They got deported to El Salvador, like one of the worst prisons of all time. There's a rumor. There's Petey. There's Petey. Thanks, Petey. I knew you'd show up. Yeah, you got a job to do. Come on, I know you're going to lie down. They won't get to see your face. Come here for a minute. Come here. Just look before you take your nap. There you go. There's your beautiful face. Beautiful, handsome face. Okay. There is rumored to be a 14-year-old that was taken with this group. And it is rumored that, they were accused. Well, let me just read this to you. I did a little more research. This is according to NBC. According to the Salvadoran government, the migrants were sent to a mega prison known as the Terrorism Confinement Center for a 1-year term that is renewable. The Trump administration has said it would pay El Salvador $6 million to imprison about 300 people that we have alleged are members of a gang called Tren de Aragua, A-R-A-G-U-A. Tren de Aragua, hard to say. I saw a little bit of footage. It's really brutal. They make these guys bend over and they just shave all their hair off. It's really scary. it is saying, according to NBC, that some families and attorneys strongly deny that the Venezuelan immigrants are connected to that gang. They say their family members have been falsely accused and targeted because of tattoos. An immigration human rights attorney who has a name about that long, so I didn't even try to say it. She said Immigration and Customs Enforcement told her this week it would not facilitate communication between her and her client, nor would it facilitate his return to the United States for his ongoing asylum case. This is like one of her clients. That's pretty grim, pretty grim. And last year, the human rights organization Cristosal, Cristosal, reported that at least 261 people have died in Salvadoran prisons since 2022. It is so dark. And to think that there might be a 14-year-old, people that have no association with gangs are now in for possibly years and years of torture. It is so painful. So, and I'm going to come back to this a little bit later at the end, but that's the correction, that the Venezuelan citizens were deported to El Salvador, to one of the most horrible prisons on the planet. Oh my God, I just feel pretty lucky right now. I got some letters that I decided I copied them, but then I edited them to not take up too much time. But one of my valued subscribers who writes me a lot of great information and her perspective on things that I value. She let me know, and I had this experience. She wrote, to Google Carrie's channel, enter @MyLeftEar, Otherwise, you get videos on ear health. So I had a friend that I didn't tell I was starting this YouTube channel 5 years ago, because I thought she won't be that interested. But she was having ear problems, so she Googled something about her ear, and I came up. Imagine her shock. So I had the same experience the other day. If I just type, I was in my bed, doing it on the TV, my left ear, all kinds of great material came up about ear health. This person went on very complimentary about me, and she likes that I focus on the positive, and she likes, I'm not reading everything because it'll take too much time, because I don't make wild predictions. And she wrote, these are her words, actual psychic research has shown that once your ego gets into it, you lose it. I'm finding that your runes and your interpretation of them are enough information, helpful, consoling, and faith-inspiring. That was a great compliment, and I thank you. My pleasure. Then she wrote, I was touched by your JFK quote recently. It was, of course, 1961, not 1951. There's an example of Carrie making a mistake. When he claimed for us our collective destiny to bear any burden. Will we bear it? She wrote, absolutely yes. And then Lyndon Johnson predicted what is happening now. When he signed the Civil Rights Act in 1964, he sighed and said, we've just lost the South for 100 years. He was a very smart man. He knew this would come. He knew this would come, this whole reversal thing that we're having right now. He signed it anyway. And he signed it because Jack Kennedy had pledged it for his second term. And Bobby Kennedy would not have taken no for an answer. And so this colossal backlash that we're having now it's our burden to bear, and it's our burden to fight, and we will bear it. So thank you, thank you. And then another client, and this is it, I'm not going to go on and on, but she wrote, thank you for helping us feel better than we have. I am stressing out daily if they take our Social Security, because just like most of us, that is what we live on and paid into all our lives. All you spoke about was uplifting, and it looks like Elmo, and I'm putting these names in, and the felon are going to get what they truly deserve at some point. I'm feeling like there's a light at the end of this extremely dark tunnel. Thanks for Carrie. And then that reminded me. So here's the quote that would be at the end that's not going to be there. I thought of Emily Dickinson's poem, "If I can stop one heart from breaking. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life that's aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin into his nest again, I shall not live in vain." Came up, so I shared it with you. It is a beautiful poem. So I'm going to get into the runes in a second. Just going to mention something about Trump and Putin's relationship. They had a phone call established, set up, and Putin made the felon wait an hour before getting on the phone with him. He made him wait an hour. That's about control and domination and putting Trump down. Like, we're not friends. You know, Trump was like, I'm becoming friends with these people. No. And many recently are talking about some kind of really ugly compromat that Putin has on the felon, and that's why he's able to dictate to him, control him, etc., etc. So the felon reported to everybody in his social media that he had this excellent discussion, and they were in agreement on this and that, and the ceasefire, I guess. I'm not sure about the ceasefire, but the report was, oh, we had such a good talk and we're on the same page. And the very next day, Putin bombed Ukraine. And part of that was a pushback to Donald Trump, like, oh yeah, we had a good talk, that's your version of it, and he went and bombed. So that, you know, actions speak. So I had another subscriber ask me a question that I hadn't addressed at all, but he had been on my mind, which is the little Nazi Stephen Miller, who's perma-bonded to the felon. So I asked the runes, what does the future look like for Stephen Miller? That's what came up for me to ask. So, very interesting reading, friends. Listen, the first rune I got was constraint. And constraint is about a challenge to the self. So it's a rune of challenge to the self. We each have our own dark little places that we have closed off, blocking sunshine and growth. That would be Stephen Miller's dark character. And it says that constraint shines a bright light into those dark rooms. And this is an opportunity, Stephen, to dispense that which binds us to our lesser self. I mean, this is so literal. It's wonderful. And if constraint appears in your runes, it is sure that you are going to be challenged on an intimate level. And that probably isn't his wife. This rune cautions that you rethink your current plan and look within yourself, you little Nazi, horrible guy. This rune, constraint, is the great teacher. It advises, work with your shadow self, Stephen, and find out what you have magnetized and how you have magnetized misfortune. Well, you know what's buried in this? That he's going to experience misfortune. And that means that other side is going down. because we wouldn't get this reading. And by the way, the reading on Stephen Miller, and thank you, Patricia, is very, what's the word? Connected. I mean, there's nothing in here that stands out like, what? That's not the message. It's very, I can't think of the word. You'll hear the messages and you'll see. It really is about Stephen Miller. Okay, so then I got the rune of growth in the reversed position. That's another one. There's Petey's tail. He's weighing in on us. I love it. Growth reversed. Aspects of your character, little Stephen, interfere with growth of new life. And I wrote in, he's going to have a hard time. He may feel dismay at failing to take right action. He must examine what has happened and his role in it. Now, that's not likely, but this is the advice, and it identifies Stephen Miller. And then the last rune on Stephen Miller is like perfect. It's the rune of joy in the reversed position, turned around. And the message is things are slow coming to fruition. The symbolic process of birth is long and arduous. It's like I'm thinking birthing the 2025 agenda. A difficult passage may be at hand. Yes, that would be true. Be deliberate in your choices now, Stephen Miller. Seek, he won't do this, but seek tranquility, clarity, patience, and sincerity. And be empty for a time, waiting to receive. Everything is a test and a learning opportunity. Persevere and practice mindfulness. He will not practice mindfulness. This is a very low life person. He operates on a very low vibration, very dark vibration. And then I picked, then I asked, will Elon, and I didn't use Elmo because of the runes. I wanted to identify him for the runes. Will Elon flee the US? That's all I asked. Will Elon flee the USA? And I got, this is interesting, I got the rune of breakthrough twice. At the beginning and at the end, like the bookends. Really interesting. And it signals a major shift or breakthrough in the process of self-change. It's a complete transformation in attitude. And for some, this would be true of Stephen, transaction is so radical that you no longer are able to live life the ordinary way. Well, once again, this indicates failure of the Trump administration because Stephen Miller is kind of like a little bit like the puppet master. We hardly ever see him. He doesn't show up much. He doesn't talk much, but he's behind the scenes and saying, sign this, sir, so we can get rid of blah, blah, blah. He's really a bad egg. But it says, but because the timing is right, the outcome is assured, although not from the present vantage point. That makes me think that there's a surprise in store for Stephen Miller, a surprise, a shock of some kind. But for him, this is akin to being released from a quagmire, even though he doesn't think of the Trump administration as a quagmire. It is. And the sudden release of energies may well propel him forward. Like, I almost did the Nazi salute. I was going to go out, but that's dangerous to do these days, and that's not what I meant. I just meant propel him forward and out of DC. And then movement. Hey, Elon. I'm just looking back here. There might be something that causes Elon to depart quickly. That's what it feels like to me. So movement is the message here. This is the rune of transit, transitions, movements, physical shifts, new dwellings. And it tells Elon, accept the path, even if the stairs seem steep. So there is this feeling that he may just flee, and it might be a breaking news kind of a thing at 2 p.m. I think that's possible. And now, I just picked one rune on this because of myself, because of the client, the subscriber who wrote me and talked about how nervous. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to ask this simple question and see what comes up. And I asked, are seniors safe? That's all I asked. Are seniors safe? And I got breakthrough, but this is a different perspective on breakthrough than Stephen Miller receiving breakthrough. And this is incumbent upon the reader, the interpreter, like me. And so please know I'm not saying something to make you feel better. It's just a part of the process of reading. The things that breakthrough were about Stephen Miller are not like good positive breakthrough, but breakthrough in failing. This is different. So breakthrough can be the bright warmth of the sun as it breaks through the final barriers. And those of us who are worried about Social Security are feeling this barrier because we don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows. Everybody's guessing. If you look online, which I have, every financial expert or Social Security expert has something different to say. So it's kind of dangerous, you know, because we just don't know. They're just different. There's clickbait. This is something I wanted to say, generally speaking. Be careful about clickbait because these people want clicks so they can make money. Which reminds me, please subscribe. It just reminded me to do that. Please subscribe and you know, give me a little thumbs up. Just reminds me to tell you that because, you know, I forget. I absolutely forget, and that's my problem. All right, but in terms of this reading for seniors, breakthrough speaks of prosperity, of being able to break through that which held you back from your personal progression. And in our case, the quagmire is the threat and us not knowing. So we're just like in thick mud, trying to keep our head above water. So it does say released from a quagmire. In the case of Stephen Miller, the indication was released from the quagmire and illegality of the Trump administration. And we don't even know yet whether Stephen Miller is going to be charged with anything down the road. We don't know. It's probably too soon. So for the seniors, there's the sudden release of energies may propel us forward. That's good news. And it's aligned with day and daylight. So, you know, when I throw runes on this, I keep getting, what? Do I say hope? I'm getting glimmers of positivity. I think just to take a moment about Social Security, they're looking at people that want to sign up and making it really, really difficult. They're looking at making it difficult to almost impossible for any senior to go over to a Social Security office. That's where it's starting. And then I think there's going to be the explosion of some kind when Elon flees the USA. And I'm thinking that'll be, spring is too soon, but like at the end of spring, beginning of summer. This is what I'm getting, and this is not runes, it's just me. It's just me. And then I'm gonna talk for a minute at the end, we're at the end here, about judges. Judges are showing up, not partisan, but to do the right thing. And of course, the administration and that little smug press secretary, Caroline Levitt Spicer, is obnoxious. But anyway, Judge Theodore D. Chung, Chuang, the other day he ruled against Trump administration's efforts to dismantle USAID. I may have mentioned that before, but I thought this is really good. Yes. And then one more. Going back to the story about the Venezuelan immigrants who got hijacked to El Salvador, that U.S. District Judge James Boasberg is getting a lot of press right now because he was having none of it. That plane can't take off, and if that plane takes off, it's turning around and coming back, and they defied everything, and he's not having it. So there's a legal standoff between the Trump administration and this federal judge, and it could escalate further today, Friday afternoon. In fact, it's 3:00 in Washington right now. And it's a hearing over the president's use of a 200-year-old law to deport hundreds of migrants. But that law is when we're in a war. Somebody dragged that out. Probably Stephen Miller. So Judge Boasberg accused officials of evading questions about Saturday's migrant deportation flights. Evading questions. Well, we don't know what time it left. Well, of course they know what time it left. The federal judge overseeing this case has described the information provided to him so far as woefully insufficient. Woefully insufficient. We don't know what he said in private. He probably swore up and down like a sailor and said that the administration has until 10 a.m. Eastern Standard to deliver a declaration from someone at the cabinet level involved in the decision-making of these flights. So that's, these judges are, they're not partisan, but the thing is that so many awful things are happening, and so many outrageous executions, executive are so off the charts. They're wrong, like 99% of the time. The Trump administration, they're just wrong. And that little press secretary, and I think maybe Baywatch Pam Bondi, that's my nickname for her, is trying to make it that they're being partisan, but they're not. It's just really bad policies, and they're identifying them, and they're doing their job. So that's that for today. I have notes for next time. I actually have some notes about the Trump administration being filled with sexual predators, and I just don't have time to do it today, but I'll add it to the next show. So Petey's Tail says bye-bye. Have a good weekend. Right, Pete? He's out. He's out. And I have to tell you something. He gained weight. He gained weight. So I'm going to save this. And one more thing. It's sort of that I'm just sharing that a few days ago, I hit my GoFundMe mark. We hit his GoFundMe mark, and we're going to be able to pay off the entire medical bill. I was able to accrue $12,000. I owe a lot of it to Pete, because I just think the way he has shown up has got people kind of emotionally involved, like really adoring him. The angels were shining on us. It's really a miracle. I mean, it's really a miracle in my mind. So I've had people donate twice, and many of you, and there's just a lot of love and gratitude in my heart. That's all I can say. So I'm gonna pay it off this week. I'm gonna let it go and pay it off this week. So that's that. And Petey is fat and happy. And I will talk to you soon. Have a good weekend. I'm gonna go get a taco and celebrate something. We're above ground. We've got food. We've got shelter. We've got heat, air conditioning. We have friends. We have family. I actually don't have family, but we're pretty lucky. So that's all I'll say today. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.